Alright, it's time to rank the MonsterVerse movies. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be ranking all 4 MonsterVerse movies as Godzilla vs. Kong just came out. I watched all of these movies leading up to Godzilla vs. Kong, so I have a very fresh reception and thoughts on all of these movies. So before I get into my ranking, definitely hit the like button. Comment your ranking of the movies down below. And yeah, without further ado, I'll get into this. I'm going to rank them from 4 to 1, least favorite to favorite. So coming in at number 4 is going to be Godzilla, King of the Monsters. This movie was atrociously boring in my opinion. Did not care about any of the humans. It was very lackluster overall. It's called Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And again, Godzilla's barely on screen in this movie. And when he is, it's raining half the time for some weird reason. But all of the monsters in the film that he goes up against, I thought they were visually cool. Again, I will praise the visuals in every single one of these movies. But the end product was extremely boring. I had to pause this movie many times when I was watching it. Again, it was hard to really latch onto any characters or see the end game of the movie and what the purpose was. There's some cool action sequences, especially towards the end, but the human characters are actually unlikable in this movie, surprisingly. And again, for a sequel to Godzilla, you're following up Godzilla and then Kong Skull Island. This was a big letdown, and I think this is probably most people's least favorite of the franchise. To me, didn't really have much going for it, and I never really want to watch it again. Coming in at number 3 for me is going to be Godzilla vs. Kong, the recently released movie, the spectacle Godzilla vs. Kong on the big screen. It did not live up to the hype, spoiler alert. I have a review that I will link up above. I just wasn't a fan of how it's called Godzilla vs. Kong, and you would think that would be the main emphasis of the movie, and by the time we finally get to Godzilla vs. Kong, I was tired. I was really just tired of watching the movie because there's such a focus on these uninteresting human characters. I can't really name one character in the movie. Madison is the only one that comes to mind, but I doubt, without looking it up, I could not name 5 characters, and that's a flaw with a lot of these movies. I get that it's a dumb premise, like there's no denying that. Godzilla vs. Kong is completely unrealistic, but you focus so much on these human characters and try to build this interesting plot, it just becomes messy and contrived, and there's really nothing to write home about there. So by the time you get to that epic fight, it's just a little disappointing, and the movie overall is fairly predictable. Not fairly, it's very predictable. I was watching with a friend, and we could predict everything that happened by the end. We actually predicted this movie days before it came out, and I'm not just saying that with like recency bias or hindsight 2020. Literally, we predicted what was going to happen, and it's a bummer that that was the case. But I think this is going to act as the conclusion to the MonsterVerse. I doubt they'll make any more movies. Kong was the standout to me. I've always liked Kong, and I continue to like him because they humanize him in a way. Godzilla as a character I've never really been drawn to. I know he's a pop culture icon, but again, I don't really see a reason to care about him ever in these movies, which is a big bummer in my opinion. I think the visuals are stunning here. The score is actually a standout here as well, but again, by the end of the movie, I was just like, what was the point of that? Was it just a big marketing ploy? Who knows? Coming in at number 2 for me, my runner-up is going to be Godzilla from 2014, the first movie in this MonsterVerse, directed by Gareth Edwards, who also directed Rogue One. And going into this movie, I did not have many expectations, but I can say that I love Bryan Cranston's character. In the first hour of this movie, I was really locked in because we got to see Bryan Cranston, Walter White himself, really giving this great performance, as well as Aaron Taylor Johnson, his son. They have a lot of great chemistry on screen. We're getting some backstory on Mutos and Godzilla, and all of these different things were going down, and then something happens to Bryan Cranston's character, and the movie kind of goes downhill from there, in my opinion. But Aaron Taylor Johnson was an actually somewhat compelling human character in this movie, which is what most of the time these movies lack. So seeing him I enjoyed, as well as Elizabeth Olsen, but we get some really cool suspenseful moments. There's one where they're walking on a bridge. It's like a railroad track. That's a very suspenseful scene. And then the final fight in San Francisco is very cool and visually pleasing to the eye. However, this movie falls to some of the common tropes of the burnt out, like disaster formula, in my opinion. You can kind of see where it's heading, and it becomes this disaster movie. Oh, there's going to be a nuke in there somewhere. It just fell a little flat because we didn't see Godzilla much, and I know they can't show Godzilla in every scene because, first of all, the budget would be insane, and second of all, it's just not feasible. But at least this movie has some somewhat interesting human characters that are actually decent, especially Bryan Cranston. But I think Godzilla is just a better story than the previous 2 movies on my list. It's an interesting plot from start to finish, and you actually get to see some growth in these characters and get to know the human characters, because while, yes, it is called Godzilla, they still force human characters down your throat in every single one of these movies, so at least they're bearable in this movie, and they actually have an arc as opposed to the other 2 movies, which again is a fatal flaw for me, but the visuals are stunning as well. I just wish we got a little more Godzilla, and this movie could go up even higher if it had more Godzilla action. But coming in at number 1 for me, taking the top spot, the surprise of this entire franchise for me. Kong Skull Island, it has to be my favorite. It came out in 2017. And the reason I really dig this movie is there's various reasons. Number one, I'm going to praise the visuals. I think that it's beautifully shot, especially a scene of Kong with the sun in the background, some helicopters. It was just gorgeously shot. The cinematography as well as the visual effects were stunning. But you actually get to know about Kong in this movie. You really see a human side of him on this island, as he is the king of Skull Island, essentially. And he has a human side to him where he reaches out to some of these humans and saves them. There's a scene where he removes a helicopter so that Brie Larson's character can be safe. But, you know, talking about Brie Larson, the characters are actually good in this movie. I care about most of them, especially John C. Reilly. And I like Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson a lot. They have great chemistry. I would love to see Tom Hiddleston do more than just Loki, because he's a good-looking man, but he's also a damn good actor, and I would love to see him take on more lead roles. He could be a leading man one day. Brie Larson's character as the photographer, I really dig her as well as Samuel L. Jackson, who kind of represents this idea of hate and, oh, we gotta kill Kong. So there's a lot of interesting conflict in the movie between characters, but also it's a very interesting plot of having to get out of Skull Island. That creates tension throughout, and the action sequences, again, are great in this movie with the skull crawlers. I dig all of that. John C. Reilly's backstory. There's just so much depth to this movie compared to the others that I have to put it at number one. I think we get some epic Kong action at the end, especially. And there's a gorgeous sequence where they're in like a graveyard, like a boneyard, and they're fighting the skull crawlers. Damn good stuff. So Kong Skull Island's actually a pretty good movie in my opinion, and it's easily my favorite of the MonsterVerse. I hope if we get another movie from this universe that it's a King Kong movie, because he's just the most interesting between Kong and Godzilla in my opinion. They flesh him out in this movie. It's visually stunning. The characters are actually decent. John Goodman's pretty one note, but you know, there's always those characters in this type of movie. But I have to say, I dug Kong Skull Island. It really surprised me, and it's easily my favorite of the MonsterVerse. But yeah, that's going to do it for my ranking of all 4 MonsterVerse movies. What do you guys think of my ranking? What's your ranking? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm curious. Do you think I'm utterly insane for putting Godzilla vs. Kong at number 3? Have you seen Godzilla vs. Kong? If so, you can check out my review. But what did you think of that movie? Let me know down below. Kong Skull Island takes the cake. It has to. It's easily my favorite of this MonsterVerse, and I don't see anything topping it anytime soon. So thank you all for watching. Definitely hit the like button. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean the world. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Got a lot of Marvel, Falcon and Winter Soldier content, Star Wars content, all that good stuff coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.